before I begin, I will send all of you a file, an Excel file, that I just want you to confirm that it's in your inbox. Don't open it yet. It's a self-assessment test, and you'll get a lot out of it as long as you don't jump ahead. Okay, so I'm going to send it right now. Hold on a bit. Okay, here we go. The self-assessment. Okay. Okay, so I'll tell you in a bit if you all received it, but just check that you received an email. It just replied to that mass email I sent a few weeks ago when I sent all the category management tools. So I'm sending you a single strategic sourcing tool. It's a self-assessment. Do not open it yet. Just make sure that you received it in your inbox. Okay, and if someone after 10 minutes still hasn't received it, put your email in the chat so I can resend. All right. So let's start with day 4. This is a return to strategic sourcing. And here are the big topics: negotiation preparation, supply relationship management, and I will be giving out several tools today. And a lot of the time this morning will be me demoing the and teaching you how to apply it in your own departments. Okay, so let's begin with negotiation preparation. Negotiation can be defined in many ways, but here are my 2 favorites. From Paul Steele's Even Better Deal, negotiation is a process through which parties move from their initially divergent positions to a point where agreement may be reached. Negotiation is also a social process in which 2 or more parties interact in the search for an acceptable position in regard to their differences and concerning the same issue of conflict. From Frank Feige's negotiating political conflicts. Okay, and from that, I kind of made a graphic that helps you understand how you can achieve success, strategic success at negotiations. That it's actually a combination of 3 skills. So by combining negotiation, selling, and interpersonal skills, we deliver success. So yeah, let me get back to that. So now I do want you to open the Excel file that I sent you. Okay, everyone open it. I'm going to open it on my side and demo how to do it. Okay, we'll all do it together. All right, you'll get a lot out of it if you answer it honestly and you don't jump ahead. It's an assessment of your negotiation style, which we will compare to the ideal negotiation style. Okay, and there's a strategic twist to all this. Okay, so let me open the Excel file on my end also. Okay, and then share what I have on my screen. Hello? Did I lose?
Can hear you.
Okay,
It's
you can.
just your screen is blank. Like,
Can you hear me now?
yep, hear you just fine.
Okay, something happened there, huh? Okay. All right. So what you should see when you open the file is this, okay? The file name is called Negotiation Levers Self-Assessment. All right, it's an XLSX file. There are no macros here. Okay, so we have 2 people who haven't received it yet. Okay, let me check your junk mail also. Sometimes it goes there when I send out mass emails. For some reason, Gmail thinks it's or some email services think it's junk. Okay, I will resend it right now to the people who said they didn't get it. Okay. Check your junk mail. All right.
I don't have it either. I did get something from you, but it's not that one.
I'm forwarding it to First, Steve. But Steve, your email is exactly the same as what I used several minutes ago. So,
Oh, I got it.
yeah, it's either late or okay. Let's see, Sanjeev. I will use your other email, although it hasn't failed before, but I'm sending it to you again. All right, then ask for Omojo. Yep, I will send that again just in case. Okay, so several of you are receiving it just now. Okay, so Sanjeev got it. I don't have to reset that. Okay, so I'll just, all right, Omojo got it. Yeah, so it's arriving just now. Okay, Steve, have you received it? Okay, yeah, all right. So it took a while because there's some size to it. So,
Yeah, got it. Thanks, Ian.
all right, here we go. So without any prejudice or bias, let's read the scenario and answer this survey as honestly as possible. That's the only way you get something out of this. And we'll do it on yourselves first, but the purpose of this is you are leading negotiation teams, or you're the leader of a strategic sourcing group or your category management, and you are planning several negotiations this year. The intent of this tool is that you try it on your staff, on your team members, so that you can, first of all, gauge how they negotiate and hopefully align on the ideal way to negotiate. Okay. So here's the scenario. Okay. You need to add additional cell phones to your plan and have gone into a retail store to get a deal. The extra phones are urgent. One of the individuals you are getting a phone for is traveling tomorrow and needs a phone today. Your internet, TV, and your internet TV package are also with the same organization. You have just told the manager how many extra phones you need. The manager, after checking some things, has offered you a deal which is better than your current one and in line with their advertised pricing. Okay, that's what you got, right? Following this, you will be faced with a series of forced choice pairs, okay? And you should slide the slider towards the one that you would most likely use, right? I will explain. We do understand that in some of the pairs, you will naturally not like either of the options. We are just simply looking for your preference given the choice, okay? So the first thing you do is type your name, okay, in the yellow box. You can all do that right now. Type your name, okay? All right, everyone's got their name? Oh, Rosemary, you haven't received it yet. Check your spam, check your junk, because it seemed to have worked with the rest. It's not called the initiative prioritization file. It's called negotiation lever. And if it worked for everyone else, it should work for you too. But just in case, Rosemary, resend me your email, or can put it in the chat, and I'll send it now if I can. Okay, Rosemary, your email, send it to me. Anyway, okay, I found it, but it won't open. Give it time. It should open for everyone else. So just give it time. All right. So the levers, this is how it works. All right. So you've got. Let's look at the first forced pair choice. All right. So after the situation has happened, you've been given the deal which is better than your current one and in line with their advertised pricing, and remembering the fact that you need the extra phones. Would you rather thank them for the offer and find out more about them, or would you rather thank them for the offer and ask how their commission worked? Okay, the way you answered it is there are only two options, this or this. Are you strongly more for the one on the left? Okay, and if the levers start moving, there's it's an invisible button over here where you can fit like this. You can see the little triangle, or on this side. Okay, for some of you older versions of Excel, if you hold the slider, you can actually drag it from left to right like this. Like tap and hold the slider, or if not, there's that little arrow on the left or right side. Okay, so if you don't like either, all right, you could leave it at the middle. It's fine. All right. Or you could use the buttons and say, I'm more towards this, or maybe I'm just a little bit towards that. So there's some degrees of intensity here, okay? So that's for the first pair, okay? The second pair would be forget about the first pair, only focus on the second pair. This is how it works, okay? It's not a sequence. This is not this happened first and then this happens next. No, you make your choice, forget about it, and then the next. So for the next one, here are the only two options. You thank them for the offer and explain why you deserve a significantly improved offer. Or you thank them for the offer and find out more about them. Okay, so forget about the first choice. Now it's just these forced pair choice. Okay, and if you feel strongly that you should negotiate even harder, right, and get a significantly improved choice, improved offer, move it towards there. That's how this works. Okay, there are 20 of them. All right, I want you to do it all. Okay, and do not click the I'm done. We will do that together. All right, but I want you to move the sliders towards one or the other choice. Remember, this is not a sequence. Okay, after you've made a choice for a pair, forget about it and move on to the next. Okay, it's not one after the other. That's important. Okay, and I will make a dummy one over here. I'll just move the sliders randomly while you're doing yours. Okay, take your time. I'll give you about 10 minutes to do all this. Do what your gut tells you. Remember, leaving it in the middle is a valid option. If you really can't decide between the two, right? You would do them equal at equal intensity or something. You choose them with indifference. You can leave it in the middle. This isn't hard. Everybody here has negotiated cell phone deals before, so do what your gut tells you. Okay, it's 9:14. Around 9:23, I'm going to ask everyone to click I'm done. And do me a favor, if you are done, raise your hand. So I know if everyone's done before, or if you need more time, I'll know. So just raise your hand with using Teams if you're done with all 20. And leave your hand up there so I can count. Yeah. So it's not 20, it's 28 pairs. Okay, good. Thanks for raising your hand. We got 4 out of 30. Good. Okay, 10 out of, okay, we've got 11 now. Take your time, and you have the option to review your choices, all right? Especially if you thought that this was a sequence of events. It's not a sequence of events. It's really just, would you rather A or would you rather B? It's all it is, okay? Okay, I got 17 out of 20, 28 or something. Okay, good. All right, yeah, Steve, if you're done, just raise your hand so I can count. Maybe I don't have to wait for 7:23. Sorry, 9:23 to reveal the answers. Okay, 21, 22.
I'm having issues with the buttons. That's why I'm like.
Oh yeah,
slow.
it's a little clunky. When I designed this several years ago, it was for Excel 2016.
Oh, okay.
So,
Maybe that's why.
yeah, it's a little clunky right now. It's actually kind of hard to drag the slider.
Yeah,
So-
some of them aren't working, and then I have to keep trying to click and move them. Otherwise, I'd be done.
Yeah,
So I'll
yeah.
keep trying, but it's taking a little bit.
Yeah, for some of you that you're
How
still
about
using the older
tools?
versions of Excel. Yeah, it's a versioning thing. Excel keeps changing, and this used to be buttery smooth back then, and now Excel made these sliders really difficult to use. So, but again, there's that invisible arrow on the left and right side that you can. Okay. For some of you, if you're
Oh, that
Excel
works.
versions. Okay,
Thanks.
good. Yeah, the invisible arrows. Yeah. Okay. Wait, because I want you to get a lot out of this. This will reveal to you how you negotiate. Right, and maybe a lot of you have had negotiation classes before, and they teach you, the techniques of negotiation. But how many of you have actually had an assessment of how you yourself negotiates? This is very telling. This one. Okay, I've got 23. I'll wait for you, Yelena.
Thank you. Just a couple more seconds.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah. Good. We're at 25 now.
I'm done. Thanks.
Nice. Melanie, are you okay? Melanie Izumi, are you done? Okay. All right, so it's just, let me see how many. Got 26. Okay. Okay, I know some of you won't be able to make it. So all right. Well, let's do this, okay? So I'm going to you can unraise your hand now, and I'll explain how this works, okay? So this exercise is called the negotiation levers self-assessment, because there is actually a right and wrong way to negotiate. And this is I'm making a generalization because it's actually the result of many studies. If you want to win, have a strategic win at negotiation, there are certain levers you can pull, little tricks, or actually I wouldn't even call it tricks, little things that you should do when in negotiation, that if you do it in the right sequence and deploy these levers at the right time, you will actually win, no matter what you're negotiating, whether it's something very trivial like cell phones or something extremely critical like a construction contract, okay? So when you were doing these forced choice pairs, all right, you were actually telling the tool how strongly you feel about using a lever, okay? And there are 8 levers. So I'll show you what they are right now. Click I'm done and make sure you see the check mark, okay? Do that all now, all right? Once you click I'm done, I want you to go to the results tab, okay? And then you should see a plain white sheet that says results. complete the survey first. Okay, and what it's really checking for is, did you put your name, did you slide the sliders, and did you check I'm done? If you did, if you did that properly, this white sheet is nothing more than a shape. Okay, it's just a cover. I want you to grab the cover, click, and drag it away like that to reveal your assessment. Okay, and I will zoom in and I'll explain to you how this works. Okay. All right. So the blue bars, that's you. All right. And the ideal is the orange bars. All right. So the negotiation levers are connect, needs, rationale, jeopardy, trade, split, walk away, and accept. Okay. And grouped into 4, easy to remember. It's build, move, give away. All right. Let me explain connect, need, what these things mean. All right. So connect means build an emotional connection. You're connecting to the other person or other team on an emotional level, right? Like, for example, you ask them about your family. How did your weekend go? How many kids do you have? Do you like sports? Okay. According to studies, that should be the very first lever you deploy. And a lot of you with negotiation experience, that you know in your heart this works, that the negotiation preparation starts way before you actually meet at the table. These are the lunches, these are the phone calls you have with the people you negotiate, and you start by getting to know them on a personal level, because at the end of the day, we are all human beings. We may have goals, we may have targets we want to achieve in negotiation, but an emotional connection is what we're all subconsciously seeking. Okay, we're all just people here, right? We all are doing this because it's work. We need to put food on the table. So that's what connect means. Any effort to get to know the other person. All right. The next lever to pull, all right, is obvious to many, but apparently not to some, is to state your needs, your negotiation needs. Okay, not personal needs, right? Your negotiation needs, right? And ideally, you bring that out soon, as soon as possible, actually, right after that negotiation. The emotional connection. Be honest, state your needs. I am looking for a 10% discount. Don't hide that till the end. Be honest about it, right? In such a way that they'll be honest too. Okay, state your needs and be blunt about it. Here are my needs. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I will consider success. Okay, that's what needs. The group is called build because you're building a connection with the other person or the other team. Okay, now after stating your needs, all right, if you still don't see, a path to victory, all right, then you move the negotiation forward, you move the other person, you move your own targets. And the first lever to pull when we're in the move stage is rationale, which simply means use logic. All right, if you did your math, okay, and let's say maybe you have a calculation where you can prove that you absolutely need this because of XXX, and if you give it to me, you will also win because of XXX. In other words, the use of logic and rationale is the third lever to pull. Okay, jeopardy is threat. All right, so if the first 3 levers don't work, all right, if you can't build an emotional connection, they won't listen to your needs, all right, and they reject your rationale, you threaten them. Okay, like if I don't get this, if I don't receive my target, I have no choice but to take my business somewhere else, or I will simply look for someone else. All right. Jeopardy does not mean you disrespect the other person. It just simply means you put a threat on the table that this will all fall apart if we don't meet somewhere. Okay, so jeopardy means threat. All right. Trading, okay, the next lever number 5, is what most people consider as the bulk of negotiation, but it's actually way down here in lever number 5. Trading is everyone's got bargaining chips. Everyone who's actually planned negotiation knows that you can move on certain things. Like if you're negotiating labor rates or something, you know that you can sacrifice a little bit of this if you get this in return. So you start trading at this level. You're giving something and you're receiving something. Okay. You're essentially bargaining. All right, that's like, it actually is what most people consider the bulk of negotiation. But for successful negotiation, you shouldn't deploy it right away. All right, And if trading doesn't work, there's a lever to pull called splitting. Splitting is like bargaining, but actually you're starting to decrease the size of the pie. You're both taking away the chances of a win-win situation here, where you're essentially both compromising already. So it's unfortunate, right? And that's why split has to come after trade. Trading is simply the size of the pie, the size of the wins isn't decreasing. It's just that you're finding out, who gets what slices of the pie, who wins bigger than the other. But with split, you're essentially both losing. Okay, compromise is another word for split. All right, and then second to the last is walk away. All right, walk away does not mean reject. All right, walk away is feigning rejection. All right, you're saying, okay, no, I'm not interested, but still keeping your ears open. All right, if you're Asian and you've been to an Asian street market, you know this works. All right, how much is that leather bag? 200 Korean won? No, I don't want it. And then they'll come back. Okay, come listen to me. It's I'll give it to you for 100. That's actually a lever you can pull to walk away, or to at least fake walking away, in hopes that they'll say, no, come back. I didn't mean what I said. That's walk away. And the last lever, and it is a lever to pull, is simply accept. Right? If the deal has met all your targets, you are willing to accept their offer, you simply accept it. Okay? All right. And of course, it should be the last lever to pull. So in that order, in that magnitude, all right, connect, needs, rationale or logic, jeopardy or threat, trade, split, walk away, accept. All right. So this table over here shows you, all right, that in my situation over here where I made my 4 spare choices, I deploy an emotional connection too late in a negotiation. I still deploy it, but it's a bit too late already. I state my needs too late. Okay, I use rationale, threat, and trade just at the right time. Okay, but also because my connect and needs are too late, certain things are happening too early. That is, I compromise too early. All right, I use the walk away lever too early, and the scariest of all is I just simply accept it too early. So if you are a perfect negotiator according to the study by ISM and CIPS, you will have no red indicators here, and you actually do this perfectly. Okay, so there's a mnemonic for this. CNRJ, connect, needs, rationale, jeopardy. CNRJ, you get them to pay. All right, meaning you win, you get them to pay. But TSWA, you give away. All right. CNRJ are the first 4 levers. The last 4 levers are TSWA. All right. So always have a CNRJ statement prepared, right? Like, for example, I really respect you and want to work with you on this project. When we are successful, it will make everyone on your team more effective. And at my recent meeting with CEO, she was pretty vocal about how important this was to her personally. All the elements are there, right? There's that their emotional connection. You're making it personal, right? You're putting people into the discussion, right? And you're thinking about the other's well-being, right? That we can both win out of this. That's what the CNRJ statement looks like, all right? Or have something like that theme prepared, okay? And in fact, you try to open with that, okay? So things that you think about when you're preparing for your negotiation. What do I know about the person? Do you have a CNRJ statement? What are the connections that help my position? What statements can I make that will enhance these? Do they need? How might I understand that without agreeing to it? What is my rationale? What is my logic? What rationale might they use that will be a diversion, and how will I counter it? Okay, the thing about using focusing on rationale is it can be used against you. You're good at math, you're good at analysis. For all you know, they're even better, right? So that's why rationale, even though people like me, I love numbers and I love saying that math doesn't lie, right? That can be used against you. What jeopardies are there in this situation? What what threats can I use? What are the things I can give them, and what would I like in return? What are the bargaining chips? In other words, what are the things I can afford to split? Okay. Then from answering those questions, you will have your key variables, your parameters for your key variables, like the things that are on the table. What will be your MDO, your most desirable outcome? What is your realistic target, and your LAS, or least acceptable solution? All right, and also have an estimate of their key your negotiation opponents' key variables, which is their MDO, their target, and their LAS. So it's a rubric, this tool, that at least give new teams, inexperienced teams of negotiation, a structure to use. All right. So I want to ask you, before I reveal to you also how Americans and how Canadians negotiate based on a big survey that came with this study. Where were you? Were you mostly were you most red, or did you only have a few red, like a few too lates and too early? What do you think? Give me a in the chat. Ouch. Don't know what that is. Okay, so did you hear that? That loud crackling noise? Okay, so for me it was 5 out of 8. All right, so in the random situation, I'm not a very good negotiator. It says, is there anybody here who's 50-50? All right, so Tyne is 3 reds. That's pretty good if it's just 3. Okay, Len 6 reds. Ouch. Okay, again, this is the remember a self-assessment. So it aims to make you aware of what you might be pulling too early or too hard, or even if you're not using it at all, right? So the idea is the clean version of this tool. Try it on your team. Okay, this might even give you a profile of how to deploy team members. Like, for example, all right, you have a team member who is not mostly red, but they're very high on jeopardy. Like, they like to threaten people immediately at negotiation. Okay, in some situations you need that, right? Like if you know that you're you have an edge, you have more buyer power, you can threaten a supplier, right? That in your mind really needs the business. Okay, if they won't have that connection, needs, and the rationale, threat might be more effective, and you would likely put somebody that using threat on the table, right? It doesn't mean you start with threats, but that's when you bring them out. Okay, so Americans. All right. So when this survey was done on, I don't know how many, but there was of Canadians and Americans. This came from a consulting group that I used to work with. So Americans like to use jeopardy and trade very early in the game. That's just the profile of American negotiators. Threat is a priority for them. And if you think about the cultural differences between America and the United States of America and Canada, it kind of makes sense, right? And if you've negotiated with an American company before, you might have experienced this, that they throw out that jeopardy card early, right? They respect aggression. They respect, and they even come to expect it, really. Canadians, all right, they put Canadians have a very high score on compromise, all right, which is even lower on the list of in the order of levers, right? And when I heard when my friend told me about that, I said, that kind of makes sense also, all right, with the notion that Canadians are just too nice and they would rather compromise than hurt feelings of someone else. So yeah, knowing that we're all, I'm assuming we're all Canadians here. Maybe we should not use splitting too early. Okay, compromise is a lever, but there are other levers that we can pull. There's nothing conflicting in our culture that says we shouldn't try to form an emotional connection first, or being honest, stating your needs. Why compromise so fast? So that's one of the learnings I got from this. Okay, and when I did this many years ago, and it turned out my split was pretty high also. I was too early also and split with a very high score. And for me, my rationale was too high. Because again, I thought that with my talent in math and analytics, I could win negotiations simply by logicking my way through it. But then I realized that that stuff can be used against me. And through the years, even knowing these 8 levers, I have been in situations where I was outmathed, I was outlogicked, right? And then I realized, okay, shouldn't have gone that route. Okay. All right. So I hope you all learned something from this self-assessment. Okay, and you all have your copies of this. I will resend this together with the other tools, but that's what this is. Okay, the negotiation levers. Okay, I'll close this file now. Then I have another tool for your teams. All right, let me. Okay. So when this, okay, hold on, I'm just losing there. By the way, there are 4 people. Your hands are still up. You can bring them down now, unless you really have a question. Omojo, Donna, Steve, and Mariama. Yeah, your hands are still up.
Oh, hi, Ian. I do have a
If
question.
you do have a question, go ahead, Lee.
Could you please explain again what is the difference between trade and split?
And split. Okay, trading is your bargaining. You are just saying, I'll give this if you give me that. All right.
Okay.
When you're bargaining, you are not taking away from your targets. You still have a chance at meeting all of your targets. So with the other person, right? You're just trading. You're not taking from your chance at victory. When it's split, all right, you are decreasing the size of the pie, giving up something already, something you'll never able to get. That's what compromise means. You're both losing. Okay, and so trading must come before splitting.
Okay, gotcha. I was confused.
Yeah, like for example, you really need a 10% disc. Okay, bargaining is, I'll give you bulk volume, I'll give you more business, just give me my 10%. All right, I'm trading something. The promise of more business, the assurance that I will give him more business. The return, I need my target. I need my 10%. Splitting is, okay, 8% discount, not 10% discount. So I've lost target already. I'm not gonna hit my target because I gave away something. I'm splitting. I'm taking away from my needs. That's what splitting is.
I see. So for splitting.
Hello, I lost you there. 3 seconds. What would you say?
Yeah, I was going to say that. So for splitting, actually you are not gaining back. Is that correct?
You're still getting something, but you're gaining less than what you expected.
Okay. Not like trading.
Not like trading. Trading, you're still on your way to reaching all targets.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. And remember that culturally, Canadians love to compromise. We split way too early. So don't do that. Trade first, or in fact, build an emotional connection first before you think of trading and splitting. All right. In my personal experience, I've in my almost 20 years of doing this, I've negotiated all kinds of categories: cement, chemicals, construction, engineering, even cleaning services. Some of my fondest memories, the best negotiations where I feel good about it, I actually forgot already the details, but I feel good about it, were the ones where I was so strong on the connect part, where before and even after the negotiation, I actually formed relationships with the person, right? I got to know them better. They're still my LinkedIn contacts. I felt good about it. And there were many years ago. And at the end of the day, those are the most fruitful buyer-supplier relationships, when you form that emotional connection, right? If you do it so well, sometimes compromises don't even feel compromises, because in the long run, your business, your tools form a stronger bond, right? Okay, and then Yelena says, and when you connect with people, they are more likely to work with you and help you. That's right. Remember, all right, we may be given our targets at work, all right, and that we have to achieve certain goals in negotiation. But at the end of the day, you're a person, the other person's also a person. We all have our lives. We all have reasons for doing this, right? And knowing that, right, and giving in that vulnerability of showing, you know, your personal situation and then wanting to reach out and knowing their side, right? That is more powerful, really, than anything you can pull at when you're planning a negotiation. Okay, so the next thing I want to share with you, all right, it's actually a group activity. Oh yes, I think someone has a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's Sammy. Just a quick question. On like the verbiage that you shared with us after we did that, do you happen to have that documented? Like what everything meant?
I only heard, did I have that documented? Can you repeat again? Are you on a speakerphone or something?
I was just on a headset. Can you hear me better now? Can you hear me better now?
Way better, yes.
Okay, perfect. So the verbiage that you shared afterwards, after we completed that negotiation test with what everything meant, do you happen to have that documented?
I'll look at my old file. It's not in this PowerPoint presentation. Look it up.
Okay, if you do have that, would you mind sharing it with us, please?
I will. I'll even modify my slides if I can find it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, so this group activity, all right, is something, unfortunately, we can't do online, okay, because it's actually a mock negotiation. But I will show you how it works in hopes that you try this yourselves with your teams. So if you're a leader of a buyer group, or you're category management, all right, this will give you a huge insight on the negotiation levers in action. You will actually see it in real life. It's honest, it's raw, right? And you can actually even use it as a replacement to the self-assessment. Okay, the self-assessment is for you, but it's even more effective at seeing actual people levers. And it is meant to be a lighthearted, funny activity. When we've done this in the past, it was always a riot. Okay, so I will show how it looks like, okay, and explain how to properly do this in a team setting. So the Word document you open. Let me just open it for you. Okay. Okay, my Word, and I'll send you'll all, of course, get a copy of this. Okay, the idea is, let's say you have 30 people on your team. You divide by 3. There has to be 3 groups. Okay. One group will be will play the role of contractor. Another group will play the role of homeowner, and the third group of observers. Okay, let's start with the observers first. Okay, because we went through the self-assessments, what levers are. All right. So the observers, all right, they won't take part. They won't take part in the mock negotiation, but their role is to score what they're hearing. Okay, so they will see people use rationale, logic, trading, bartering, emotional connection, splitting the pie, or compromising, jeopardy, threat, stating the needs, walking away, accepting. All right, they just need to document when was it employed. Okay, so when let's say you start this at 9 a.m. You have a timer, and if you hear, oh, that was using math, the contractor said it happened at 9:10. Okay, all right, I could hear threats being thrown out. It was by the homeowner, that happened at 9:20. They just log the time when they heard it. Okay, and also how strongly was employed. All right, and opinions are okay. So let's say rational logic by the contractor. That was really hard numbers, and he was throwing out words like, you know, math doesn't lie, or you can't argue with the numbers. All right, then maybe give him a 10. All right, or if he's very weak at it, like, you know, a good estimate of the math would be this. All right, he's not sure of himself. Maybe that's a 2 out of 10. That's the role of the observers. The observers don't know the proper order of the levers. That's why these have been randomized. You now know, okay, that that emotional connection should be strong and should be early, but the observers don't know that, so they're just logging in time and the strength. Okay. Now group A, all right, are the contractors. Here's their situation. So ideally, you print this on paper and you give a member on team A a copy of this. That They will not share, of course, with Team B. Okay, so they're a contractor, and here's a story. You are a small home contractor with a good track record. You take pride in your work. Reviews show it. However, in recent years, your balance sheet has been taking a hit. You've been struggling just to keep the lights on. Without a big job in the next few months, you are afraid the business will fold. You'll go out of business if you don't get something big right away, okay? In the next few months. You just received a request quotation to build a sunroom, right? The total cost of materials and for this job is $40K, and then you submit a quote for $50K, and that which would give you your usual 25% profit, all right? And there's even that proves that, okay? Right, so here are the things that, you know, the services you offer. Building a sunroom, $40K. You're gonna ask for $50K. It's 25% profit. Kitchen, $20K. You'll ask for 25. Essentially, you put a 25% profit on anything you build. Okay. Now, a few small jobs lined up, and they're mostly repair type jobs. But building this particular sunroom will be good for your portfolio and give you really nice pictures for your website and social media. Okay. That's all. That's all the information the contractor has. Okay, and so they have this little table over here. They're like list of costs and prices for standard jobs, and of course, in the picture over here, they're worried. They need business. Team B, the owner. Okay, this is their story now. Okay, and this should not be shared with Team A. Okay, so they have their own pieces of paper and they're reading this. You've been living in your 1980s era home for a long time now and have decided it's time for renovation. You have $50,000 to spend, and your spouse insists on using it to build a sunroom. It's not the only thing hired all old home needs, but you need to keep the peace at home or else divorce or something. I don't know, but whatever they interpret as what that means, keep the peace at home. So after getting 5 quotes for a room from various reputable contractors in the city, you've decided to be the lowest bidder who came in at $50,000. That's at the very top of your budget. You think to yourself, other areas of the home badly need a renovation, namely one of the bathrooms, okay, because there's water damage and mold, and the garage because it's freezing cold in the winter and it's got cracked concrete. After doing some research, you find out that the average cost to do a bathroom is $3,000 and $5,000 respectively. So $3K for the bathroom, $5,000 for the garage. That's $8,000 you don't have. If there was a way to get what you want and stay within budget. Okay, obviously, the lowest bidder is the contractor. How the game works, right? Imagine that, you know, Team A has 10 people and Team B has another 10 people. All right, 2 people need to come together just at random. All right, the 2 people come together and they have 2 or 3 minutes. It's up to you, depending on how much that 2 or 3 minutes to negotiate. All right, like where the contractor, he has to embody the personality of the contractor, a guy who's going to go out of business if he does this job, right? And the other person has to pretend that they are the homeowner, right? It's up to them if they be the husband or the wife, whatever, but they have their own needs. And remember, they don't know each other's needs. They just need to get what they want. They both do not know their needs also, right? But this will all come out in the negotiation. After that 2 or 3 minutes have passed, the judge will say stop, and then get the next person in line, okay? So the next person has to continue the negotiation. Take it where the last 2 people left off, all right? Until everyone has had a chance to negotiate. So 10 people on group A, 10 people on group B, okay? The activity ends when the 10th pair have had their 2 to 3 minutes, okay? And there's a win and there's a lose situation. You lose if both teams do not, if nobody gets anything. All right. All right. There's a win-lose situation, of course, if let's say maybe the contractor gets what he wants, but the homeowner doesn't, or the homeowner gets what they want, but the contractor doesn't. And in a very rare case, this has only happened once to me when I've done this many times. And it was with a bunch of students, in fact, not even SCM professionals. win-win situation. It is possible if you look at the scenario. Yeah, there is a way where where both the contractor and owner gets what they want. Okay, it's super rare, but it can happen. All right, and yeah, and in my experience, when you do something like this, you will hear hilarious things, right? Like one of the best what I've heard is pair number one. They meet each other, okay, and the contractor, he opens with, "That's a nice Jaguar you have in the driveway." Yeah, his opening was to say, "You got a lot of money." All right, and then I've also heard ridiculous arguments like, my wife, I really didn't want to tell you this, but she's actually dying of cancer, and the doctor says that in order for her to live, she needs a son. Anyway, the people will get creative, okay, and what especially because they know that there's a win-lose situation out of all this, right? One of the things you have to tell Group A and Group B is that they can make anything they want. The only thing that must be true is what they have on the piece of paper. Okay, so they can't lie about submitting a quote for 50,000. Their cost is actually 40,000. You can't lie about that, but you can make up anything you want. Okay, all right. This is the only thing true. All right, and then so this will typically take 30 minutes to an hour. All right, and then at the end of the activity, you ask the observers to report, to come up in front and say, okay, there are 8 levers. When were each ones deployed, and how early or how late, how strong? Okay, and then yeah, you essentially recount what has been said, what happened, and then you show them the ideal situation. You bring up the 8 levers and say, the emotional connection should have been first for both sides. Was it, or was it deployed last? Was threat thrown out too early? That sort of thing. I've never had this experience end up badly. It was always fun, lighthearted, and you're going to hear really, really funny things come out of the mouths of your teammates. So yeah, have fun with that. You'll all get a copy of this Word document. And any questions on how this game works? Okay, it's all right. It's meant to be lighthearted. All right, nobody should come out of this crying or the other person. All right, it's meant to be lighthearted. All right, but give you really good insights on how your team members negotiate. Okay. All right, so the next content I have here it's still related to negotiation, something called the balance of power. This comes with a tool also that you can use. This one is it's more tactical, and it's a great template to use right before you negotiate. Okay, I'll tell you a little story first that accompanies my explanation of the balance of power, and then I will explain to you how to use a tool to objectively assess if you have the power as the buyer, or if the power is actually with the supplier. All right. So because my wife is a huge fan of the show Outlander, if it's a time traveling romance about a guy from Scotland and somebody from modern day, no, not modern day, the 1970s, who travels in the past. Right, and meets one of her dreams. Anyway, if you haven't seen it yet, it's a really good show. At first, I didn't think that I'd like it, but I'm super into it. Okay. Oh, Donna Edwards, you read Diana Gabaldon? Great. Okay, so yeah, Outlander tells the story of the Highlanders, and in season 1, okay, they set up a historical event as the Battle of Culloden. Okay, in 1746, it was a real life event that happened. The Scottish Highlanders. They were fighting for independence. All right, they wanted to break away from British rule, and in one fateful battle, they almost all wiped out. It's the reason why very battle is attributed to why Scotland is a part of the United Kingdom, and they're not a separate country. Lost this battle. All right. So what happened at the Battle of Culloden? Okay. So let me show you a few things, and I will relate this all to negotiation. Okay. So there were two war factions, okay? The Highlanders, okay, the Scottish people, and the British, all right? So the first, I would say the first mistake, the beginning of the end of the Highlanders is they focused too much on themselves, all right? And particularly with a piece of technology that had won them many battles in the past. That's the shield that you see here in the picture. It's called Targe, right? It's a leather and wood piece of shield that were very good at using. Okay, so their weapons, they had muskets too, they had swords, right? But they always went into battle with these Scottish targes, these shields, all right? And it protected them against musket fire. The British never used shield in battle. Okay, they've got long and powerful musket, and musket's a rifle, right? And in many previous battles, the Highlanders won because of that shield, all right? But at that particular Battle of Culloden, all right, British adapted, all right, and they brought in a lot of these cannons, all right. Now, of course, the Scots, they knew about cannons, didn't think that the British would use that much of them at the battle, and of course, your little leather and wood shield will not deflect a cannonball. It will keep you alive from musket fire, but it will blow your head off if you pop that cannon. So they misread the British about that. Second mistake, okay, that the Highlanders did was they thought that fighting on their own land gave them an advantage. Okay, because the battle actually happened in the Highlands, all right, in this area. I forgot what it's called, but in a certain area, the Highlanders knew very well. They fought on it before, okay? So they thought that they had the tactical advantage because it's their house, all right? In negotiation, there's this notion that if you negotiate in your house, all right, you have, because your opponents are only visitors. It's not their building, right? The Highlanders thought the same thing. But it was it spelled their doom, because on that fateful day, it actually rained the previous night, and on that field, in the rainy season, it actually becomes a swamp. All right, so they couldn't run fast anymore. Their boots were stuck in muddy ground. So their assumption that fighting on their land actually was their one of the biggest causes of their demise. All right, and but historians say that the biggest reason they failed, okay, is because the defenders employed old, outdated battlefield techniques. The fighting was already outdated, and they didn't know it. Okay, so if you think of the Highlanders in blue over there, and there's the Targes. Okay, they all come to, they run in battle, right? With their shields held high, okay, and they've got their muskets with their bayonets or their spears, and they were rushing towards the British, and the British didn't have their shields; they just had their muskets with their bayonets, right? They knew that that shooting, all right, would be useless against the with their Targes, because the Targes could block the bullet. Of course, at a distance, muskets are also useless; they're highly inaccurate. Okay, the brilliant commander of the British, I forgot his rank, but Cumberland, at the very last minute, he innovated, he changed, he told his men that, I think I found a way to defeat the Highlanders on their own land and using their way of fighting. And that was this, that in the charge, when they would run towards each other, at the very last minute, his men, so imagine they were more or less like lined up again, team A versus team B, okay? He ordered the men to actually stab the person next to the person in front of them, where the Targes would not actually be of any use. All right, and the Highlanders weren't expecting that you would be stabbed by not the person in front of you, but the person beside you. So your Targe is aimed at the wrong right? You've actually left half of your body open. Right? And that's exactly what happened at the battle. The Targes, even though it was successful before, a simple change in battlefield techniques, just stab the person to the right of your target, caused mass casualties on the Highlander side, and very few actually died on the British side. Okay, plus they had their cannons. This is actually what happened on the battlefield. Okay, and so this story, I like using it when I talk about the balance of power, because everything seemed to be going right for the Highlanders. It was their land. They've won before. They thought that their technology, their shields, would always win the battle. But the British innovated. They changed. They adapted at the very last minute, and they won. And hence, you have what we have today. So, if we relate that now to buyers and suppliers, let's talk about situations, right? The sobering situation that make you realize if you're the buyer, if you have the power or if you don't. Okay, so buyers have more power if, number one, there are only a few, and each of whom have significant market share. Okay, there are only a few buyers. What that means, right? When you have either an oligopoly or even a monopoly, right? The buyer also has more power if they purchase a significant proportion of the supplier's output, meaning they are a huge giver of revenue to the supplier. You're the biggest piece of the business for suppliers. You're the big fish, they're the small fish, in other words. They can promise consistent and repetitive volume requirements. They are in a position to potentially buy the supplying firm. They are buying standard items available from many firms. In other words, they can easily switch. And there are credit substitutes that are easily available. You don't need to buy that particular product. There's something else that's similar that they can go with. Okay, and if those factors are in place and you're the buyer, then congratulations, you have the power. All right. Oh, there's one more. Yeah, they have a brand that the supplier wants to be associated with. Okay, buyers have less power if it's a one-off purchase. They purchase only a small amount of the supplier's capacity. You give them that much revenue. Okay, they have significant switch costs to change suppliers. What that means is, yeah, you can change suppliers. It's actually going to cost you more than you're willing to pay, because it might be maybe the technology is deeply entrenched in your systems, or the person to switch with, all right, is overseas or something, or very difficult to deal with. All right, so even though you can switch, it will if you know that it will be difficult to switch, then you have less power. If you are purchasing bespoke products, okay, meaning highly customized, right? You're actually asking the supplier to do something that they don't normally do for their other clients. That's what the bespoke product or service is. Then you have less power. Okay. All right. So any questions on the balance of power? All right. Highlanders versus British is the same thing. Being blind to your situation, not knowing if you have the power or not, will cost you dearly. Now, on the supplier side, okay, suppliers have more power if they're operating in a monopoly or otherwise limited market. There are only few that produce this product or service. If they're ones providing the bespoke product or service, their customer has heavily invested in their production processes. They're like almost vertically integrated. Okay. They own the intellectual property, the patents. They control distribution channels. They have a broad customer base with capacity split between it. They don't need the buyer. They've got others, right? They've got other clients. Limited substitutes the product or service they provide. And they have less power if it is highly standardized or commoditized and in a highly competitive market. There are limited number of customers. The product is not important to the buyer. There are a number of alternatives which are easily available. Okay, so I have this information in bullet point form. which you can print out, share with your team, but I got something better. I have a tool that I will share with you called the balance of power. All right. 2 companies ago, my previous company, this became standard that every negotiation team had to prove to management before they negotiate on something that was beyond a certain spend threshold that they perform this exercise. You can do this exercise in less than 10 minutes, but it gives you, it's a last check before you negotiate. Make sure that you know where the power lies. All right, so let's demo how to use this balance of power tool. Okay, let me just open it from my. Okay, it's not a macro-enabled tool. It's a simple Excel spreadsheet. It's got the sliders again. So here we go. So you enter the supplier, all right, and you enter the date of this negotiation. Okay, and it's just how many questions are these? These are oh, where's my 10? There it is, 10 questions, and then you got the space to add some custom questions if you want to add to this. But you simply look at the question. There is the procurement factor. For example, the number of potential suppliers. How many suppliers? And move slider towards buyer. If there are many suppliers, then move slider towards the buyer. Okay. So what you do is you give these questions weights. Right now, by default, they're equally weighted 3 out of 5. Okay. Let's say this is important. It becomes a 5 out of 5. Okay. And then let's say in this situation, yeah, there are many suppliers. As a buyer, I can get this stuff anywhere. Okay. So you move this slider towards the buyer. Okay. Again, if your slider is acting up and it doesn't want to move, there are invisible triangles over here you can use to move that slider. Okay, and let's just go through the other apps over here. Available spare capacity in the market. If there's little spare capacity, move towards supplier. Okay, let's say there's lots of spare capacity, so move towards the buyer. And maybe this is not as important, rank 2. Okay, 2 out of 5 weight. Your organizations share acceptable suppliers' current capacity. Your potential future demand for product or service required. Possibility for substitution. Little to no substitution. Move the slider towards the supplier. Knowledge of product cost breakdown. Knowledge of suppliers' pricing costs. Logistics factors. Location or transport issues. Attractiveness to relevant suppliers. And barriers hindering a change of supplier. Right, so I'm just going to make some random moves over here. Okay, just move your stuff in this. Okay. So for negotiation, just gut feel. You don't have to be so scientific about it, but move these letters. And at the very bottom, there it'll say that this is the quick assessment. What you're heading into or to is a negotiation where you, the buyer, have slightly, not great, but slightly more power, 33%. Just an estimate. Okay. So that's all that it is. It's this little thing that will move towards buyer or supplier based on your this, and you can customize it if you want. Okay, you can even this is an unprotected sheet, so you can even change how this stuff is worded or change all the questions entirely. But in my opinion, as I've seen this institutionalized in the company two companies ago, that when people think about this, all right, they go into a negotiation with a little bit more confidence, and know, especially with the levers, if they're trained in it, they're aware, then they can act accordingly, right? It's like, for example, if you know as a buyer you don't have any power, you have very little power, or you don't have any power at all right, then rationale will not work, threat will not work. All right, they might not even consider trading, and they might force you into the splitting. So what can you do about that? Well, use more of the first 2 levers, the emotional connection and the needs, right? Stating your needs, because you know that with that power, you can't outmath them. They will not listen to your threats. So that's they go hand in hand, the 8 levers and this quick test tool. All right, any questions? And then because this is supposed to be a working tool, you can actually put notes and actions for each of these questions. Okay, well, there, nice, simple. Okay, with that, I want to give you guys a little break. It's 10:11 on my watch. I'll give you a 10-minute break. Let's meet again at 10:21, and we will talk about, I think, SRMs. Okay, so meet you at 10:21. That's not SRM. The next title is the Algic Matrix for Negotiation. Okay, see you in 10 minutes. Okay, and we're back. Please give me a thumbs up if you see the PowerPoint slide. Okay. All right, so 2 more topics. The second last one is correlating negotiation with the Kraljic matrix, or segmentation and tiering, if you remember from week 1. Okay, so the Kraljic matrix isn't just a tool for category management. It can be used as a guide for negotiation planning. All right, so just to give you a refresher, because this has been like 3 weeks ago, the Kraljic matrix is this 4-box model where we can put suppliers and subcategories in 4 different kinds of areas, depending on how low or how high their spend is, and how low or how high their operational risk is. Okay, so spend is forward. It's just the amount of dollars you spent. You have annual spend with them. All right, you choose the timeline: 6 months, quarterly, annually. Then risk is a combination of many things: financial risk, that the supplier may not last very long, or if operational risk, like if they leave us and our operations stop or something, or is there a safety risk, like are they prone to having injuries and fatalities that will negatively impact my business, that sort of thing. And I gave you a tool, right? Some of you have played around with it, and my offer is still open. If you need guidance on how to use that tool, or worse, if the tool's not working on your computer, let me know and I can walk you through it, because I've said this many times. It is, I think, at the heart of category management and theory, the actually performing the Kraljic matrix, because it dictates almost everything: how you write strategies, how you do performance management on suppliers, and right now even on how you plan your negotiation. Okay, so depending on where your supplier falls, surety of supply, strategic, transactional, tactical, for purpose of negotiation planning, they have their equivalent names in the 4-box model. So surety of supply, for negotiation planning, you consider these suppliers as strategic security. They are strategic. If they're a strategic supplier, for negotiation, you call them strategic critical. For transactional suppliers, in negotiation, it's known as tactical acquisition. And for tactical suppliers, spend low risk, they're called tactical profit suppliers. Okay, so that's just terminology. What are our priorities? Okay, negotiation priorities with suppliers that are strategic security. All right, availability is key. Your priority is availability to you of their services and products. You need to have it available. Your business will not survive if you don't get the stuff that they're selling. That's what availability means. All right, reduce exposure is another way of saying reduce the risk. Okay. Again, to be over here means they are high on the risk rating, and you need to find ways to reduce that risk. Okay, looking for substitute and alternatives is a priority. Trying to build contingency plans in case something goes wrong, because again, security is of utmost importance, and building a technical relationship. Okay. Strategic suppliers, when you negotiate with them, you treat them as critical suppliers. So you manage to improve, all right? Manage to improve, all right? Because if you remember, strategic supplier, the theme is mutual growth. Okay, so the purpose of negotiation here is so that you both get something out of it, all right? Because you need each other. They need you as much as you need them. So managing to improve. All right. Open book cost modeling, developing the relationship, and shared risk and reward. So imagine that negotiation for critical looks very different from negotiation with strategic security, where naturally you have to be a little bit more defensive. Okay. Tactical acquisition. All right. So this is about automation and reduction of management time. So you negotiate to reduce the cost of the acquisition, or the cost of doing business with that supplier. You focus resources elsewhere. Remember from segmentation and tiering, Suppliers that are tactical acquisition are usually tier 3 and low spend. So the priority is to actually not manage them. Not hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, something happened to my headphones anyway. Okay, is to not manage them actively. Okay, try to automate as much as you can. That's why simplify the PDP process, automate and outsource. And whereas tactical profit, exploit and drive profit, consolidate supply base, seek leverage opportunities, standardize requirements, and change is the status quo. All right, change is the status quo. So this is the most fun box if you love negotiation, because all the levers that you need to pull in the correct order, they will likely work, and they will win. They will win you big when you use it in suppliers that are tactical profit, because the risk is low to you, and because your spend is high with them, they have very little power at the negotiation table. All the power is with you. Okay, the opposite is true with strategic security. The supplier has the power, the buyer has little to no power. So that's priorities. If you look at the negotiation approach, okay, let's walk through the 4 boxes again. For strategic security, it's managing risks. Be a resource investigator. Foster growth competition. All right. What that means is your negotiation approach is to let them know that you're not the only supplier out there, right? Or I've found ways to get it somewhere else. All right. Competition for them. Okay. And this requires above average negotiation skills, because again, the power isn't with you, it's with them. Strategical, think strategically, think long term, right? Listen to your negotiation opponent, right? Be a team player, be relationship oriented. If you had a spectrum of people with different negotiation skills, you should put your people person, your strongest relationship builders on that negotiation team, okay, when you're dealing with someone that is critical. Tactical acquisition, have good human relations, be patient, don't be adversarial, and be organized, because you want to get this done as quickly as possible. There are far too many kinds of negotiations that are tactical acquisition, so it really should not bog you down. And finally, tactical profit, be proactive, harness the full arsenal of negotiation skills you've been taught. Of course, have deep knowledge of your business and their operations, and be highly analytical. All right, and pull all those 8 levers, because this is where it actually works. If I had to sum all of these negotiation approaches in one word, in word, it would be strategic security is be cooperative. Strategic critical, be collaborative. Tactical acquisition, be transactional. And tactical profit, competitive. I think this is a nice slide to print out. It serves as a great reminder. And just like the tools I showed you a while ago, show this to your teams and make them realize that there is no one correct style of negotiation, because there are actually 4 styles of negotiation. And knowing where you stand in terms of where the supplier is in the Kraljic matrix, who has the balance of power and what levers to pull. You should never be competitive in a strategic security environment, and you're throwing away too much if you're trying to be cooperative or collaborative in a tactical profit situation, because you really should be competitive there. So that's what this slide is all about, and that's why I made it for you guys. You have this quick reference guide on negotiation planning. Okay, any questions on negotiation planning? Mariam, question.
What is the meaning of open book cost modeling?
Open cost modeling means I show you my costs if you show me yours.
Okay.
It actually works, but there has to be a high level of trust. Okay. And that's why you can never do open book cost modeling on a very small supplier, or a supplier where you're actually wasting the relationship. If you're open book with a supplier, you can quickly replace. It should only be done on strategic suppliers, or where the negotiation is strategic critical.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, welcome. I will hazard a guess and say that very few of you are actually doing open book cost modeling. Complete transparency on both sides. It's not a typical kind of relationship we have with a vendor, but if mutual growth is the plan, right? Then you know, trust and transparency is the name of the game, and so open book cost modeling, that's why it's there. Okay. Right, so everything we've talked up to this point is all about being strategic with negotiation. I've given you three tools really: the balance of power, the negotiation self-assessment, and even the activity, the fun activity, homeowner versus contractor. That's all to help you hone your strategic negotiation skills. The next part, it's a big pivot, but it is arguably one of the most important steps in the 7 steps of strategic sourcing process, and that is step number 7, supplier relationship management, or SRM. Okay, so I invite you to ask questions, make comments on this, because this is super important. I think Kraljic matrix is the most important for category management. I think SRM is the most important for strategic sourcing. Okay, and also you cannot call yourself, you cannot call your department a category management or a strategic sourcing management department if you do not have SRM, if you do not institutionalize an SRM program. If you think that sourcing ends when a contract is signed, that's not being strategic, and that is certainly not thinking long term. So that's what this next lesson is all about. The term supplier relationship management, SRM, refers to the practice and process for interacting with suppliers. Most supply professionals view SRM as an organized approach to defining what they need and want from a supplier, establishing and managing company-to-company links to obtain these needs. That from the Institute of Supply Management from the US, ISM. That's like the American version of SCC, Supply Chain Canada. They're much older, by the way, ISM. So if you remember this this diagram I keep recycling, the 5 pillars of category management, well, there it is. Supplier relationship management. Okay, it's positioned this way to give the message that supplier performance, you cannot manage that if you don't manage the relationship first. Okay, and it goes hand in hand with contract management. Okay, I have a nice graphic that I'd like you to show your leaders, right? This is I think the justification for doing SRM, all right? Because SRM, it isn't easy. It costs money, it costs resources, but without it, whatever gains you get from a great contract and great negotiation outcome, right? It will erode over time. The supplier will go back to their old ways. All right, the relationships fade over time, and then it becomes anonymous all over again. And prices will go up, and you're not doing anything about it. So, without SRM, do not sustain all the hard work, the gains you get from all the hard work from building up a great contract. Okay, you're throwing these things out into the wind: innovation, continuous improvement, trust, and mutual growth, and much more. But with an SRM program, the gains are sustained, and they even grow over time, long after the sourcing process. So it's a very powerful graphic, and it is also very true. I'm not just saying something I read from the book. I saw this. I lived this. I actually critical in the implementation of an SRM program, and I was required to report on what exactly those gains are. And there were gains. There were tons of gains. There were in terms of, and they were tangible and intangible. That relationship, innovation building, and mutual continuous improvement, right? That could not have been possible if we ended the sourcing activity with the contract being signed. Okay, so there's that graphic. Take a picture if you want to. You'll all get a copy of this anyway, but that's a powerful graphic. All the gains you lose without SRM, and with SRM you sustain and even grow long after the contract is signed. So the key to a successful SRM program is to be strategic, to be planful. Okay, so on the left side you have a reactive approach, all right, which is akin to saying I don't have an SRM program. that's a situation where companies start to manage the supplier only when unpleasant situations with the suppliers occur. Okay, and try to figure out how to improve performance of unreliable suppliers. This approach consumes quite a lot of time and resources, which could have been better spent on more important business processes. Okay, that's what reactive is. You only talk to the supplier if something goes wrong, right? Unfortunately, in my experience, it is the most common approach to contract management. Whereas if you're being strategic about it, that the relationship management starts even before an agreement with the supplier is signed, right? And in order to ensure the competitive advantage of your company in the long run. So a forward-focused approach, which can lead to successful relationship even in the early stages. All right, done properly, you might not even have unpleasant situations or unreliable supply. Okay, or in other words, you might not even see that decline. Okay, with SRM, do it properly, the gains just get better and better. So let's talk about the elements of an SRM program. Let's start building one for yourself. Okay, so you do SRM on subcategories. All right, so one SRM program, one template for a group of suppliers, right? Let's say they provide similar services or products, or if the supplier is critical, okay, strategic even, you do it on a supplier basis. You have an SRM program just for these guys because we spend millions on them every year and absolutely need them. Okay, it's up to you what is more appropriate for the level of resources you have. Okay, but first you state the need. So be clear on your expectations for quality, your expectations on delivery, price or cost, transaction efficiency, or the speed, simplicity, and transparency of your transactions, and value add metrics, the expectation of innovation as the relationship matures, logistics, manufacturing, service needs, the scale, and the assurance of supply. Document that and make sure both parties understand that this is what I expect. Next element, apply to the appropriate suppliers. Because of time and resource constraints, SRM cannot and should not be applied to all suppliers, right? And of course, segmentation and tiering helps determine which suppliers should have SRM. Okay. So this is this bullet list over here is actually in an increasing scale order. So here are the types of relationships you can have suppliers. So the worst ones on top and the best ones at the bottom. So you can have a supplier where you don't know that the supplier exists and there's no reason to use them, or they don't know they exist and you might use them. Okay, and then it evolves to arm's length price relationship. Then you have a price relationship. Informally cooperate on operating levels of efficiencies. You have a price relationship, formally cooperating for longer term efficiencies. Then if you want to go beyond that, then you can have a total cost relationship. What that means is the concept of the total cost of ownership, that engaging in a contractual relationship with a business is not just about the invoices being paid and the materials they supply. It's everything. It's about switching costs. It's about maintenance costs. It's about the cost of extending their contract, or auxiliary costs, like doing business with them means I have to spend on other things to make it successful, right? That kind of relationship is a mature one, where both of you recognize total cost. Okay, and then there's things as opportunity sourcing, innovation and top line, revenue-driven relationship, all the way to vertical integration. Vertical integration is what happens when a supplier is so critical to you that you're actually investing in them now, or maybe even planning on absorbing them as either a subsidiary or they become part of your business. It's like, wow, their relationship's so great. Please join us. Okay. SRM exists here. There we go. Okay, so you can't have SRM if it's a very transactional relationship. Okay, sorry, if it's worse than a transactional relationship, meaning they are just a potential supplier, because you might have that in your vendor list. you have a bunch of potential suppliers. Yeah, you have vendor numbers for them, you put them in the system. But if you're not sure that you will buy them, or you buy stuff, sorry, you buy from them and you buy it on a casual basis only when you want to try something new, or the other supplier is unavailable, they're just a backup supplier, don't put SRM on them. But if you have a formal price relationship, meaning you signed on the price sheet, or their rates have been loaded in their ERP system, okay, that's the minimum requirement to have SRM, okay, and all the way to total cost relationship. Why no SRM for even more mature relationships? It's not that you shouldn't have. You can, absolutely. But when the relationship is that mature, that you're both working together, and to the point that where you're in lockstep with each other, you're essentially the same company already, SRM is not priority anymore. It's strategic growth already and other things. And 80% of your vendor relationships fall under somewhere in this spectrum. Okay. Lucky for you if you've already matured to be total cost. Okay, but that's where SRM exists. Okay, let's be a little bit more targeted. Okay. In terms of build measurements, okay, the things that you are the KPIs that form your SRM program. The stakeholder has to be involved in defining the measurements. And what I mean by that is, who is this contract for? It's certainly never for supply chain. It's for someone in the business. It's for operations. It's for maintenance. It's for corporate. I don't know. But whoever the contract was made for, they have to be involved in defining measurements. This is not a purely supply chain exercise. Okay. And then the measurements can be thought of as two things: targets and means. All right, and let's talk about the difference. Okay, the targets are end goals. Okay? The end goals being sought after. So price, cost, quality, specific logistic details, order cycle times, time to market. That's what the targets are. Means are types of measures that are manageable subcomponents of these targets. Okay, in other words, it's a way of defining a target. It's something easy to measure. For example, all right, a target could be order cycle time, okay, or the reduction of order cycle time, okay, and then a means could be for that order cycle time is transportation transit time, all right. And remember this, the 80-20 rule, or the Pareto principle, has to apply here. Have more targets, less means. Okay? Because a common fault would be to over-require mean measurement. So if to simplify this, never forget the concept that the expectation is for the supplier to find ways to meet your targets. Don't constrict them with very rigid or multiple means, okay? Because means, remember, is just a way of measuring targets, all right? Sometimes you have to require the measurement of certain means, but if you go overboard and have 20 means or 20 measurements for a target, you might actually be losing out value, because you're kind of handcuffing your suppliers in ways they can achieve that target, where means should be more like a guideline. That this is the things that tell us if you are successful in meeting the target. At the end of the day, we will grade you as a top performer, or that you have high marks or SRM program if you find ways to just meet the targets. Okay. All right. Yeah, and this is a fairly recent addition to my slide, because the more and more I see SRMs being implemented or designed for companies, the more I realize that this common fault is real. It's the excitement of doing SRM. I want to really document everything and measure as much as I can. So just remember, too many means is not a good idea. Parts is the priority here. Okay, next, defining goals. Okay, a single point of contact or a small group with the supplier. Internal agreement as to what and how to accomplish the need. Frequency of measurements, milestones, and meetings. Some SRM programs need to be on a monthly basis, others quarterly. limitation of other stakeholders, having substantive conversations with suppliers, initial initiatives with a letter of goals rather than it being a single purpose initiative, and feedback with corporate imperatives and market supply demand dynamics. Who plays that, and when is it deployed? Essentially, are the defining is how you define roles in implementing SRM. Okay, and then in SRM there needs to be a way to capture performance. So the most common way is to decide whether we use a one-way scorecard or a two-way scorecard. So let me make it clear. You use a one-way scorecard where the buyer measures the supplier. Okay, the buyer is the one measuring the supplier. If the performance metrics like cost, quality, and schedule are important to the relationship, all right, it's best used on tier 2, tactical and surety of suppliers. So there's your Coralgic matrix again. If your supplier falls in these boxes, the one-way scorecard is most appropriate. You measuring them. Whereas, just jump ahead, the supplier is strategic. The best SRM programs implemented with two-way scorecard where you're both measuring each other. You give the supplier the ability to measure you as a buyer. Okay, because it's not the performance metrics that's important. I mean, for a supplier to be strategic, there's already some history there that they do meet your expectations. No, the most important thing is trust and mutual growth. Okay, the relationship itself is the priority, and that's why you are giving them the ability to measure you also. All right, so tier 1 strategic suppliers, that's where you do two-way scorecards. All right, it's certainly not one size fits all. Any questions on one-way and two-way scorecards? You see this, by the way, in your business? Are you doing it right now? You have a KPI sheet, and for some vendors, it's one way, but for a few select, you have it as two-way.
Hi, it's Tammy here. We just
Yes.
had one of our ministries change from two-way to one-way. So what would be the benefits of working with from going from two-way to one-way?
Well, essentially, when you think it's best to move from two to one way, you're not giving the supplier a chance to rate you. So there's inherently less trust in that kind of relationship. It's a lot easier to manage. I mean, the one advantage is you can have more scorecards if they're one way. Administering a two-way contract is very time intensive because you evaluate on a periodic basis your supplier, but then you have to also evaluate their scores of you, and then you have to somehow meet more regularly and reconciling that. So two-way scorecards, one, has to be appropriate. You cannot simply apply it all. Okay. And really the only benefit you get out of two-way is if you apply to the right kind of supplier, strategic. But if you move it to one way, yes, it's easier. If you apply it properly in the right suppliers, it's good. But if you have strategic suppliers and you take away their ability to rank you or to rate you, that kind of hurts the transparency and the trust. That's what I think. Sounds though, Tammy, that the decision for you was made because of resources.
Ian,
Hey.
I'll give you another example.
Yes, Warren.
Yeah, sorry. So sort of similar to Tammy, we did like a vested approach with a vendor, and very strategic and a lot of high value. But we found it wasn't really working. And so we went to more of a one-way situation because we weren't getting anywhere because they always had to come back and say, well, we want this, we want that. And so basically we were always at a stalemate. And so it didn't really work. So that's kind of why we went to more of a one-way scorecard. As much as it sounds like we're not being, true to the principles of the vested approach and two-way, relationship. If you're not able to get anything, then I think maybe you've got to go with the one-way sometimes, right? And so that's what happened. Yeah,
Thanks for sharing that, Warren. I would even entertain the thought that maybe they're not as strategic as you thought they'd be. Right? Because a real strategic partner will want to participate in an SRM activity. If they're lazy about it or they don't see the value and they're not participative, perhaps they're not strategic, right? Maybe they're more tactical. High spend, yes, but risk to you is not as high as you thought it would be. But thanks for sharing. That's very good insights, both of you. Okay, so I have a few more things to show you. Let's talk about how you can continuously improve a SRM program. Right, it's just a list and guidelines, but it's worthwhile thinking about them. Number one, treat your suppliers as more than just vendors. Technology and automation can simplify the SRM process. Okay, because I'll be the first to admit it's not easy to do something like this, and a lot of people perceive SRM as more work. This is just additional work on top of the buying that I have to do. So if you value SRM, know you need it, but you don't have the resources, that's what tech and automation is for. Develop strong and deep relationships. And that goes hand in hand with what I said earlier, that you can't have an SRM for everyone. It's only for those that you deem important enough to have a relationship, a long-term relationship. This is a good one. Price is what you pay. Value is what you get, right? And it is very common for supply chain departments to lose sight of that, to regress back to price is everything, right? Especially when there's a change of leadership, or God forbid, there's huge retrenchment, and then your reduction in resources, the shrinking of your supply chain, and now you're going back to let's just negotiate things. So price, you forget about value. Okay. The more detailed the agreement, the easier it is to manage the relationship. All right. I'll add to that. The clearer the expectations are, the easier it is to manage the relationship. So another thing to consider: evaluate and mitigate risks. And finally, get everyone on board. This is not SRM. It's resource intensive, and it's supposed to be resource intensive because it's not a purely supply chain activity. The stakeholders must be deeply involved in it, and even the suppliers themselves. Okay. Any questions on how to, at least on a very high level, how to improve an SRM program? Okay. I have one last tool to show you. Okay. It's the final strategic sourcing tool that I've created for this course. It's an SRM tool. Okay, and I will demo it to you. Okay, let me just open it on my end. There we go. All right. It's an SRM scorecard builder, right? So let's go through the instructions. So the background: this tool creates a scorecard for key performance indicators selected by the user. The scorecard is both easy to use and protected to maintain data integrity. All right. So the instructions here is: choose a save location for this file and all exported scorecards. This is a build. Remember, this file builds scorecards. So the result of using this tool is you can create hundreds of scorecards of it. Right. So how we select KPIs, we just double click if you're buying something online. All right, and then you go to the scorecard sheet, and then we click create scorecard. All right, and that will compile all the select KPIs and essentially assemble a scorecard. Okay. Then we finalize KPI selection, and we have the ability to add weights. So KPIs are more important than others, right? So you have the ability to weight them. And then we export scorecard. Okay. So before I click all these things, run this tool, the purpose of having this tool is what I said earlier, that SRM programs inherently more difficult to implement than other things, and so you need tech and automation. Right, so this is the example. We're going to use technology. This is a VBA enabled file. It's a macro enabled file. All right, which I'm a bit worried about because macros do tend to fail. But and in this case, this tool isn't even that perfect. But at least for the most part, it works. So let's try it. So choose a file save location. You click this button, and it'll bring up a window and say, all right, where are the scorecards going to go? All right, for demo purposes, I'll just say it's going to go to my desktop. There we go, desktop. Okay, so the tool will automatically populate this, okay, based on what you go. I'll do that again so you see it. It's blank. You just choose a save location, to desktop, or maybe a shared folder for you or someplace or some location. Hit OK, and then you'll see it over here. All right, so you put your company name over here. All right, the one that you are scoring, of course. The scope, just give a description of what they're being measured against. An evaluation period, and you must be specific about this. So this scorecard is for Q1 2024, 2025, or it is for the year 2024 if it's an annual thing. And then by default, the scales are 1 to 5, but you can also make it 0 to 4. Okay. And there's a very good reason why the scale is just 1 to 5. SRM programs do not work if they are difficult. And remember, the ones who are actually scoring the suppliers, it's not supply chain. It's the people that the contract was made for. It's the business. It's operations. It's maintenance. They are the ones who will input data into this method. So it's got to be easy. And that's why it's not 1 out of 100 or not even 1 out of 10. It's simply 1 out of 5. Okay. All right. And this is important. Special characters are not allowed. So don't put the asterisk or @ or $sign. Just use regular characters. Otherwise, this VBA program fails. Okay. So next, you click on KPI selection. It takes you to 4 areas of KPIs: commercial, quality. Let me zoom in. Commercial, quality and performance, safety, strategy, and innovation. All right. You can change the words if you want to, but I highly suggest you don't, because you could actually break the code if you do that. And these are pretty much general, areas for KPIs: the commercial aspects, the quality aspects of their product delivery or service delivery. Safety is usually important. All right, and then there is, well, it's continuous improvements. Okay, you put KPIs on strategy and innovation. Okay, because if you remember, SRM is supposed to be for the long haul, the long view of things. And with that strategy and innovation, an SRM program is hollow. It's more like a policing program, right? So that I think that there should be an area for strategy and innovation. So what each of these sheets are is nothing more than a collection of KPIs. So the stuff I have over here are a combination of actual KPIs that I've used in my previous companies that I've monetized, and stuff that I just researched online. But it's an empty sheet. It's a blank sheet, so you can add as many KPIs as you want. So that's what it is for KPI and KPI description. It's important that when you create a new KPI over here, put a clear description, because you're not the one who uses this, it's the business. So they need to understand if you have a KPI here that's kind of thick, explain it in plain words what that KPI means. Okay. Then on the right side over here, past this thick border, this is your scale of 1 to 5. All right. And it doesn't have to be 1 to 5, it can be 1 to 3. All right. Or maybe just even 1 and 2. But maximum is 5. It's like the spirit of keeping this simple for someone to use. So for example, adherence to budget. So the KPI description of that is the percent variance of project delivery in comparison to budget estimate or expectations. So this choice would be significantly exceeds budget, somewhat exceeds budget, on budget, below budget, and significantly below budget. Okay. Accuracy. All right. So the percent of invoices that are accurate, no errors. So 89% or less, 90 to 94%, 95 to up to all the way to 100%. So meaning no errors. Okay, so these are unprotected cells. You type whatever you want. Okay, so just know that it's a scale of 5 items. You can't have more. All right, and then you do that for all of your KPI sheets here. Here are some quality and performance. Let me zoom in so you can see. Let's say the issuance of non-compliance reports. So that's the management of the NCR program, non-compliance reports. So from 20% contractor issued NCR, 80% company issued NCR, to what's on the other side? It's a scale of 1 to 4 only. Contractor self-managing their NCR process. Okay, what's this one over here? Cycle time from never meets expectations all the way to consistently exceed expectations. So again, you customize this based on your needs. Do the same thing for safety and do the same thing for strategy innovation. You might want to form cross-functional teams to fill this out. So let's use this tool now. After you've built out your KPIs, you double click the stuff you like. Okay, for my SRM program, I like adherence to budget. I like cost avoidance. I like this certain cost management. Projects are delivered within budget. Yeah, sure. Okay, and then I'll go to the next tab. Quality performance. I think this is important. Capacity availability, cycle time important. Maybe engineering errors. Safety. Okay. Compliance with site safety is important, and maybe product safety. And finally, you go to strategy and innovation. Yeah, just double click this one, double click that one, double click this one, and then double click that one. Okay, so essentially you're just shopping here for KPIs. The next thing is you go to the tab called Create a Scorecard. So I click on Create a Scorecard. All right, it's blank sheet. Okay, you've got the button here to navigate back to the main sheet if you want to. That. Okay, or you can go back to this Create Scorecard. Ignore this evaluate scorecard. Actually, that's the part that's not working here. I have to fix this first before I send this out to you. That's the fault of Excel. Like, this worked perfectly last year, and before Excel 365 made some changes, and now the VBA for evaluating the scorecard doesn't work. But give me time, I'll fix it. Anyway, so you made your double click selections for the KPIs you want to measure. You just click on this button, create a scorecard or refresh a scorecard. So let's do that now. We create it, right? The program will look at the sheets and fetch all our KPIs and lay it out nicely. There we are. Here are the commercial KPIs. Here are the quality and performance KPIs. Safety and strategy innovation. These are everything I selected. And then you see the scale 1 to 5. Okay. All right. And at this stage, you can change things. You can type over whatever you want. Change the title. I don't know why you would, but anything that's orange, you still change it at this stage. Okay. After that, we finalize our KPIs, but now we edit the weights. So we click on this button over here. Okay. So now my KPIs are being finalized. I can't change them anymore because they're white. They're not orange. But now I will say what the scores and what the weights are. Okay. So what that means is, right, on a scale of 1 to 5, selecting greater than 10 over budget gives them a score of 1. This gives them a score of 2, 3, and then maximum of 4. All right. And if you want, you can change it. You can make this one a score of 5. Right. It doesn't have to be the perfect scale. This can be 0, 0, 0, 0, 5. They'll only get full marks if only they exceed expectation. So anything in orange, edit it. Okay. Customize it. Right, and that on the right side over here, you see the weights. So by default, the program will auto-calculate them to be exactly the same weight. So there are 4 areas. That's why you see this group 25, 25, 25, 25. But you can change that. You can make what's this one? Commercial. Okay, higher than the others if you want. So let's make that instead of 25, this is 30%. So I have to take 5 away from something. I'll take it away from, let's say, safety. 20%. Okay, and then within my commercial, this keeps moving. My commercial, sorry about that. My commercial KPIs. This one is probably more important, so I can put 50% here, and this is 25, 25. Okay, so just make sure that everything is up properly, okay? That all of the main sections add up to 100% and all the KPI didn't add up to 100%. That's on you, okay? And then when you're done with that, okay, you have a nice looking scorecard. You hit the last button over here, which is export scorecard. Okay, so let's click that now. It gives you a message. This scorecard builder file will be saved and 2 new files will be created in my desktop. That's because I selected as my save location. Okay, so I'll get 2 files. What are the 2 files? Number 1, key file that contains weighting information. Keep this key file confidential. Do not give this to the supplier. Do not give this to the stakeholder. Only you hold this. The key file is essentially the collection of KPIs, the scores, and weights. You don't want the evaluator to know the weights. Otherwise, you insert bias into this. Okay. And the second file is a scorecard file itself. This is the one that it is protected and ready for sending out. So this is the stuff you email to your evaluators, or you put it in a folder and said, hey, every quarter go in this folder and fill out my form, my scorecard form. Okay, so that's what it is. You get 2 files. One you keep to yourself, and the other one is for the evaluator. Click OK to proceed, or cancel to change save location. Sorry, something wrong with my sound card. I'm not sure if you heard that. OK to proceed or cancel to change the save location in the main sheet. So I'm going to click OK. All right. Excel VBA is doing the magic. It's creating 2 new files. It's a few seconds, right? But there we go. It's done. Once you see the thing, the spinning wheel stop, it's done. So let's pick it up. OK. Open our, okay, here is the company name. This is the scorecard. Okay, this is what you, yep. So this is scorecard, all right? This is what you send to, this is what you email to your supplier. So what they will get, all right, is the KPIs, all right? They'll see over here, that's period we need it for, okay? And then when it's time to evaluate, all they got to do is, all right, here's the budget. They are on budget. Cost avoidance, below expectations. Cost management, exceed expectations. And they can put costs here. Okay. See how easy it is? They're just clicking. Capacity availability, exceed expectations. Cycle time, below expectations. Engineering error, more than 3. Compliance with safety, exceed expectation. Product safety, exceed expectations. Best practice transfer, far below. Sorry, far below expectations. Why is it not turning orange? Okay. Continuous improvement exceeds expectations. Contract administration, sometimes agree. Innovation, agree. Okay. Yeah. So obviously there's still a problem with this. I'll fix it before it goes out. This I promise you this was working last year. That this year it's Excel changed and now I can't even select this one over here. So when you're done with it, when the evaluator is done with that, all right, you hit finalize. And if they make a mistake, let's say, for example, they forget the, how do I unselect? Yeah, something was not selected. If they hit finalize, it'll say, this will finalize all selections. Okay, here's the error. This actually is selected, just turn orange. Okay, but anyway, I put a control here that if they forget to click on one of these things, right, they won't be able to finalize. But if I hit finalize now, it will finalize all selections. Proceed, press OK. Yeah, it'll be an indicator here, finalize, and then now I cannot change. See, as I'm clicking, my things finalized. There's no way I can fudge this, and these are my ratings. Okay. Okay, and then the expectation is to save this and return it to whoever's doing KPI or dump it full. Okay, so let me close that. Right, see how easy that was, by the way, before close. They see the KPI, they only have a few choices, right? This is not meant to be something that they bring out their calculator for. It's just make their choices on their impressions. And this becomes even more accurate if there's more than one evaluator, because the program will just average it out. Okay, close that. And I go back into my into my program, okay, because there's a feature here that auto evaluate the scorecard, because for some vendors potentially how many times you do this in a year. Let's say you do KPI scores monthly, and then you do it on 10 suppliers, right? And then each supplier will have 5 evaluators. You can have over 100 scorecards that you need to evaluate. So I created this way so that it's easier to administer that, how to evaluate the scorecards. Okay, by the way, this is for some reason not working, so I will fix it. But this is how it works. You select the kind of SRM program. Is it a single supplier, single scope of work, single evaluation? In that case, you get this. Or is it maybe single supplier, single scope, yearly evaluation? If I select this one, okay, then I look at evaluation sheet. The layout becomes different, okay? Or maybe it's single supplier, single scope of work, monthly evaluation. Click this one. Create evaluation sheet. Now it looks like this, 12 months. Okay, supplier, here's a total score, here's the percentage. Okay, maybe it's multiple suppliers, single scope of work, single evaluation. So if I do that, click this one. There we go. Each row is a different supplier. Okay, and then when you're doing multiple suppliers, this program will automatically rank them. So you can see who's number 1, number 2. Right, or the most complex of all, multiple suppliers, multiple scopes of work, quarterly evaluation. I click this one, very big SRM sheet. Okay. So that's selecting the evaluation type. We click create evaluation sheet. Okay, we select if we want to round things or don't round things. So, all right, so no rounding or round the total score to a near integer. I'll just put no rounding. Then, let's make it a simpler one because this is, I don't want to fill out all that. Let's just use single scope of work, single evaluation, create evaluation sheet. Okay, so you click on import scorecard. All right, step 1 of 3, locate the finalized scorecard file. So all you have to do as evaluator is point the computer to where was the final one saved. In this case, it was still saved in the desktop. So, or was it in the desktop? Anyway, this is not an Excel file. I don't see it anymore, but somewhere there you link the scorecard, all right, and then with the act of finalizing a scorecard will create a evaluated scorecard. You link to it, okay, and then this will be auto populated, and then you will see the total score and their percentage over here. Okay, and I apologize, it's not working right now. At least this evaluation part is not working. The creation of a scorecard, this is working. Okay, as you saw a while ago, I created one just now, and I was able to successfully export it to my desktop. So this is an example of how you can use automation and technology to make scorecard measurement, collection, and evaluation easier. You can do it any way you want. This is just how I would do it using technology. All right, give me a few days to find out why Excel is not working for a perfectly okay file, and then I'll send this to you last. I'll send the other tools first, but then I'll send it last. But at the very least, this should give you an inspiration of how to make your own SRM program, okay? And the key things to remember here is that it must be easy for the ones evaluating it. If it's overly complicated, if it's something that they can easily destroy also, or they have to use math to figure it out, it's not going to work, because recognize the fact that for them, they will see this as extra work. So that's why it's got to be super easy. That's why I made my scale only 1 to 5, nothing hard. When you see a KPI, you even see the description right beside it. Like, I've given as little excuses as possible for someone to say, I have no time for this. You can evaluate something in under a minute if you're intimately working with a vendor, if you use a form as easy like this, okay? And then it's flexible also because you can type as many KPIs as you want. This is just a collection of pound line and stuff I've actually used in the past. So add more to this, all right? Yeah, and then try not to change the groupings, because if you put an extra character here or change it, all right, unless you change also the tab sheets to match exactly what you see here, the program could actually break. So just keep it if I were you. You can always not choose strategy and innovation anyway, or have 0 quality and performance KPI, just all commercial and safety. It's up to you, really. Okay, and with that, I will open it to questions now, but I do want to say thank you so much. We've reached the end of category management and strategic sourcing. Thanks for sticking around for 4 Saturdays. I hope I've all taught you something new, maybe, right? Or at least try to make this practical in your companies. That was always the goal of mine anyway, not just to teach you category management and strategic sourcing theory, but I wanted practical ways you can make this work, which is why this course is full of tools, because without the tools, this is just pieces of paper, right? So give me your feedback. Let me know how these things work, right? Let me know if you're getting resistance to doing this. I'd like to know that, because that will help me evolve the course, right? Do you want to work with me to build a better tool? I'm open to that too, right? What's the worst I could say? No, but let me know. This is an evolving course. And if you have feedback for me, email it to Kathy. SCC wants to teach this course more often, because Supply Chain Canada East, they don't have anything like this. Only West does it, Alberta and BC. So we'd like to expand this to Ontario and the Maritimes, but we need people to say that, you know, this works, or learn something new. So we'd love to hear your feedback. And of course, we'll use it as marketing, right? We'll put this on LinkedIn and say, you know, learn practical ways of applying category management and strategic sourcing, you know, all that good stuff. So again, thank you so much. Let's hear it now. Let's hear the questions and or the comments. I'm reading the chat right now. Wow, lots of thank yous. You're so very welcome. I always enjoy delivering this, and I've enjoyed this last few Saturdays with also the sharing, the feedback. Okay, Carolyn, you have your hand raised. What's your question or comment?
I do. Thanks. Great course. 100%. I do. I would recommend it. What is your advice about getting executive buy-in on all of this?
I would start with why category management exists in the first place. Okay, that if you just stick to how you've always done things, right? For me, the biggest sell is that you can only get as much as about 10% only on just hitting hard on negotiation. You want an extra 30% of value. The only way to do that is to evolve the category management. And it's not just the opinion of Ian Gonzalez. The best supply chain companies in the world are doing it, right? So, and then put some level of reality here so that at least he knows you're not, you know, blowing smoke up his thing. You say that a lot of people who try to evolve in category management actually fail because it's time and resource intensive. So let him know that it's nice, but it's something that we all have to be committed because it's actually difficult.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Another thing, Carolyn, is show him this slide, that powerful graphic, the one with the curve, the SRM curve. That's this one. Show him this, right? For at least for the strategic sourcing part. No SRM, you will waste all of that effort you did in trying to get a good contract because the value erodes without SRM. Right. Show him the pictures I used, like the Kraljic matrix. Yeah. Tell him that you can't treat your suppliers in the exact same way because that's the biggest mistake parents make for their kids. Kids are different. You treat them differently. Same thing with suppliers. We can't all treat them as tactical. Some of them are not. Some of them are surety of supply. So yeah, you can screen cap lots of the stuff that you saw in these slides and put them on your presentations. By the way, now that we're done with this, before I fix that last tool, I will send you all a copy of all the slides and all the pictures and stuff. If it's not too large, if Teams allow it, I will send you the PowerPoint itself. But the last time I did that, it was like 200 megabytes, and I was forced to convert to PDF. So we'll see. Okay. I'm just reading the chat line over here. Let's see. We know when the recordings will become available, Trisha. So what happens is, because I say a lot of things I shouldn't say on camera, they edit a few things out. So the Amber from SEC will review this video and take away the dead silence, take away the things where I go off script, and then they will release a sanitized version of this video. All right, don't worry, they won't remove any of the important stuff. They'll remove things like maybe some of the tail end comments and Q&A. They'll remove that, and it should be available within this week or next. So give it about 2 weeks, and then you'll get a link to the recording of this. But even before that, you'll get a copy of the slides at least. You like it when I go off script? I like it. Oh, Alan is here. Okay, you know what? We've got a few more minutes. I'll hand over the mic to Alan. Alan, you can close us up. Go ahead, Alan. FC West CEO, Alan Toe in the house. Whose camera is not working? Can't hear you, Alan. Maybe he's in the car. That's probably what's happening. He does that every now and then.
Yeah, he put a note in the chat saying thank you.
Okay, all right. Well, that's all, folks. I hope you enjoyed this. Spread the word. For any of you who have signed up for my next course, we're doing Power BI on Monday. Woohoo! I'm gonna do it all over again. No, Power BI is one of the more fun courses I teach, so that's on Monday. Happy weekend, everyone. For those of you in Calgary, there's a car and truck show happening at BMO Center. I'm going there after this, actually, because I love cars and trucks. So fun. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Ian.
Thank you
very
much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Ian.
Thanks, Ian. Great job.
You're very well, Steve. Yes.
Can you stay for a bit? Just have a question. This is Annalie.
I can stay for a bit. Problem.
Yeah. I am interested in learning about total cost of ownership. Is it something that you offer, or can you recommend a course?
It's not a specific course because it's not a very big topic actually, but I can tell you there's tons of resources online. Type in Google or Bing Copilot, total cost of ownership. What are the metrics, how to apply, just watch online. For me, I only have I had 4 slides on that, total cost of ownership, but there's just much more online.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I love all your tools.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Experience and they're well thought out. But thank you so much.
You know the thing, necessity is the mother of invention. I created these tools because I was so angry at not being able to apply category management sorting because everybody was talking theory, but I was one of the few that says, oh, how am I going to do this? So because nobody was giving me tools, I made my own.
I can imagine, like, for me, for example, right? The scorecard, that's just the best, right? It takes you a long time to format.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to fix it. I promise. I'm going to fix it.
But that's just the best. I love it so much among all the other tools. I think, like I said, they came with a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge in Excel, and understanding really what is required for category and strategic sourcing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.
Very, very impressed.
Pinoy?
I really recommend Pinoy.
Of course, yeah. I mean, tanghal, yeah.
Yeah, I did connect with you in LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's right. Now I remember. Yeah.
We came from the same school.
UP?
Yes.
Oh.
From UP. Business Economics 2000.
Oh, okay. I graduated mechanical engineering 2003, but yeah, 2000 supposedly 2002, but I had lousy grades, so I medyo nag-extend ako. So 2003.
But you were sixth in the board exam. I saw that.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Amazing.
I don't know how that happened. Luck.
I can tell. I can tell
Yeah.
why. But yeah, amazing. I'm really very, very impressed and proud.
Thank you. And I'm glad that there are other Filipinos in Calgary, in the supply chain space, and moving ahead, right? Not just in only the entry level positions, because I do find most of the Filipinos in supply chain, they're just buyers. They're maybe accounts payable, right?
Yeah. I think just given a chance, right? They will definitely.
Yeah. I want to see more leaders. I want to see more supply chain directors who are Filipino, right?
Yeah. There aren't. I don't see a lot of them. They're just mostly in the managerial level. So yeah, that's a good vision.
I'll do whatever I can to help that.
Yeah, I will. I might probably touch base with you. I'm interested in taking some courses as well. In MRU. So
MRU.
I'm really
Okay.
deciding. So we'll see. But thank you again. It was great. It was an amazing course.
I'm glad you liked it, and you're very, very welcome.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Take care.
Okay, have a good weekend.
Okay, you too. Bye.